Have you ever woken up and felt like the world you once knew had disappeared overnight? Like everything that once brought you joy had suddenly turned into a distant memory, replaced by an unbearable emptiness? Heartbreak has a way of making time stand still. The pain seeps into every part of your being, your thoughts, your body, your very soul. It feels like a storm that refuses to pass, a weight that grows heavier with every breath. You replay memories in your mind, searching for answers, wondering if there was something, anything, you could have done differently. Perhaps you ask yourself, was I not enough? Did I love too deeply or not enough? Will I ever feel whole again? Heartbreak is more than just emotional pain. It shakes the very foundation of who we are. It strips away the illusions we once held about love, security, and permanence, leaving us exposed to a truth that is both terrifying and transformative. But what if I told you that heartbreak is not the end? That the pain you feel right now is not here to destroy you, but to awaken something deeper within you? In Zen and Buddhist teachings, suffering is not seen as an enemy. It is a teacher. Every loss, every heartbreak, every painful ending carries within it a seed of wisdom waiting to be uncovered. The question is, will you allow this pain to break you, or will you let it shape you into someone wiser, stronger, and more at peace? This is not about forgetting love. It is not about numbing your emotions or pretending that you are okay when you are not. This is about learning what love truly is, beyond attachment, beyond possession, beyond fear. So stay with me. This may be the message your soul has been waiting for. Before we dive in, if you're new here, welcome to Zen Mind Journey. If you find wisdom in these teachings, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if this video resonates with you, show some love by liking this video. It truly helps the channel grow and reach more souls in need of healing. Lastly, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your journey matters, and your voice might be the comfort someone else needs to hear. Now, take a deep breath. Let's begin. Understanding the nature of heartbreak, a Zen and Buddhist perspective. Heartbreak is one of the most profound forms of suffering. It is not just about losing a person. It is about losing an identity, a sense of belonging, and a vision of the future we built with them. The intensity of heartbreak comes from the way our minds cling to what was, refusing to accept what is. In Buddhist philosophy, this is known as Dukkha, the suffering that arises from attachment and resistance to change. Why does heartbreak hurt so much? The pain of heartbreak is not purely emotional. It is psychological, even existential. When we fall in love, we create deep neural connections that link our happiness, our sense of self-worth, and even our routine to another person. This is why, when they leave, it feels like a part of us has been ripped away. The brain, wired for connection, experiences withdrawal symptoms similar to addiction. Studies show that heartbreak activates the same areas of the brain as physical pain. But what makes heartbreak unbearable is not just the absence of the person, it is the loss of certainty. We grieve not only their presence, but also the future we imagined with them. This is why even when a breakup is expected, the pain can still be overwhelming. Buddhism teaches that the intensity of this suffering comes from our attachment, not from love itself. Love versus attachment, understanding the difference. One of the biggest misconceptions in relationships is confusing love with attachment. In its purest form, love is free, expansive, and selfless. Love says, I cherish you as you are, whether you stay or go. Attachment, on the other hand, is possessive. It says, I need you to be here for me to be happy. Attachment creates suffering because it is rooted in fear, the fear of loss, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough. True love, in contrast, is without conditions. It does not seek to control or cling. It exists even when circumstances change. When a relationship ends, the pain is often less about love and more about attachment. We suffer because we were relying on that relationship to fulfill a need, validation, security, or a sense of identity. When it disappears, we feel empty. But this emptiness is not the absence of love. It is the absence of the illusion we had attached to that love. Dukkha, how we create our own suffering. The Buddha taught that suffering, dukkha, is an inevitable part of life. However, he also taught that suffering is amplified by our resistance to change. When we refuse to accept reality, when we fight against impermanence, we create unnecessary suffering. Think of a clenched fist. When we grip too tightly, our hand begins to hurt. The same happens when we cling to a past that no longer exists. The tighter we hold on to someone who has left, the more pain we create for ourselves. There is an old Zen proverb, "Let go or be dragged." This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom on suffering. We cannot stop change from happening, but we can stop resisting it. The moment we release our grip on what was, we begin to heal. How we react to loss and prolong our pain. When faced with heartbreak, we often respond in ways that make our suffering worse. Instead of accepting reality, we cling to the past, replaying memories and wishing things were different. Blame ourselves, believing that if we had done something differently, the outcome would have changed. Numb our emotions, distracting ourselves with work, social media, or even new relationships. Seek closure from the other person, hoping they will validate our pain or offer an explanation that makes sense. But all of these responses come from the same place: resistance. We are resisting the truth that life is impermanent, that people change, and that nothing is guaranteed. Buddhism teaches that healing begins when we stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" Many Zen stories illustrate how suffering can lead to wisdom if we are willing to let go. One famous story tells of a young man who lost the love of his life and traveled to a Zen master for guidance. "Master," he said, "my heart is shattered. How do I move on?" The master poured tea into a cup until it overflowed. The young man gasped, "The cup is full. It can't take any more." The master smiled. "Just like your heart, it is overflowing, not with love, but with attachment. Until you empty it, you cannot make space for peace." This story teaches us that as long as we hold on to expectations, how love should have been, how people should have stayed, we will never find peace. Another Zen tale speaks of two monks crossing a river. They see a woman struggling, and the older monk carries her across. Hours later, the younger monk, troubled, asks, "Master, we are not supposed to touch women. Why did you carry her?" The older monk replies, "I put her down at the river. Why are you still carrying her?" This reflects how we carry emotional burdens far longer than necessary. We replay conversations, analyze words, and hold on to pain as if keeping it alive will bring us peace. But the truth is, healing begins when we choose to set things down. How to begin healing? If you are suffering from heartbreak, understand this. Your pain is not a punishment. It is a lesson. Heartbreak is an invitation to look inward, to understand yourself, and to break free from the illusions that were holding you captive. It is an opportunity to love again, not with attachment, but with wisdom. Ask yourself, am I grieving the person, or am I grieving my expectations of them? Am I resisting change, or am I flowing with life? Am I clinging to the past, or am I opening myself to the present? The road to healing is not about forgetting love, but about understanding it. And when you do, you will see that heartbreak was never about breaking you. It was about awakening you. The story of the seeker and the silent monk. The young seeker had never known pain like this before. Love, to him, had been something sacred, something unbreakable. He had given his whole heart, believing with every fiber of his being that it would be cherished in return. But life had a different plan. One day, without warning, the person he loved walked away. No explanation that made sense. No way to undo what had already been done. Just silence and emptiness where once there had been warmth. His world, once full of color and meaning, turned cold and gray. He tried everything to make sense of his suffering. He replayed every moment, searching for clues. Had he said the wrong words? Had he not been enough? Had he loved too deeply? These questions became his constant companions, haunting him in the quiet hours of the night. But no answers came, only pain. Desperate for relief, the seeker decided to seek out a Zen monk rumored to have the wisdom to heal even the most broken of hearts. He journeyed to a remote temple, nestled among the mountains, where time seemed to move slower, as if the universe itself were whispering the secrets of existence to those who knew how to listen. When he arrived, he found the monk sitting in stillness beneath an ancient tree. The monk's face was calm, his presence as steady as the mountains surrounding them. The seeker bowed deeply and spoke. "Master, my heart is broken. I don't know how to heal. Please, tell me." How do I stop this pain? The monk did not answer immediately. Instead, he studied the young man with eyes that seemed to see beyond his words, beyond his pain, into the very core of his being. Then, without a word, he rose to his feet and motioned for the seeker to follow. Confused but hopeful, the seeker obeyed. Lesson 1. The overflowing cup, love versus attachment. The monk led the seeker to a small wooden table. On it sat a delicate ceramic cup. Without a word, the monk took a kettle and began to pour tea into the cup. The seeker watched as the liquid rose to the brim. But the monk did not stop. The tea overflowed, spilling onto the table, pooling onto the floor. The seeker gasped, "Master, the cup is full. It can't take any more." The monk nodded, setting the kettle down. And just like this cup, your heart is overflowing, not with love, but with attachment. You must empty it before you can find peace. The seeker frowned. But how do I do that? I can't just stop loving someone overnight. The monk smiled, his eyes filled with understanding. True love does not cause suffering. What you are feeling is not love, it is attachment. You are grieving not just the person, but the loss of your expectations, your dreams, the future you had imagined together. Let go of the illusion, and your heart will have space to heal. The seeker sat in silence, the monk's words settling over him like a mist. Lesson 2. The river that does not stop flowing, accepting change. After a while, the monk stood and led the seeker down a winding path. They walked in silence until they reached a river. The water rushed past rocks and fallen branches, moving steadily forward. The monk pointed to the water. "Tell me, can you stop this river?" The seeker shook his head. "No, master. The river moves on, no matter what stands in its way." The monk nodded. "So does life. A broken heart feels like the end, but time does not stop. You have a choice. Will you flow with life, or will you stay trapped in the past?" The seeker felt something shift inside him. He had spent so much time clinging to memories, refusing to accept that life was still unfolding around him. Heartbreak had tricked him into believing that his story had ended, but the river did not stop for anyone. It continued, carrying with it the debris of the past, while making way for the future. Lesson 3. The stone in the shoe, pain as a teacher. As they walked back, the seeker suddenly winced in pain. A small stone had lodged itself in his sandal. He stopped, bent down, and removed it, sighing in relief. The monk observed him carefully and smiled. Pain teaches you where to look. If something hurts, it means there is something you must remove. The seeker looked up, confused. "What do you mean, master?" "Your broken heart is like that stone. It is pointing to something within you that must be examined, an attachment, a belief, a fear. Do not run from the pain. Sit with it. Listen to it. It will tell you where you need to heal." The seeker was silent for a long time. He had spent so much energy avoiding his pain, drowning it out with distractions, hoping it would disappear. But what if the pain itself held the answers he was looking for? Lesson 4. The empty chair, gratitude over grief. As they reached the temple, the monk pointed to an empty chair in the garden. "Once someone sat here. Now they are gone. Does that mean their presence had no meaning?" The seeker shook his head. "No, master. Their presence still mattered." The monk smiled. "Then do not resent love simply because it has passed. Every person we love leaves something behind. Instead of mourning what is lost, be grateful for what was given." Tears welled in the seeker's eyes. He had spent so much time focused on the pain of loss that he had forgotten the beauty of what he had once experienced. Love was not just about permanence. It was about presence. Even if someone was no longer by his side, the love they had shared was real, and it had shaped him. The seeker bowed deeply to the monk. "Thank you, master. My heart still aches, but I see now that it is not broken, it is growing." The monk nodded. Heartbreak is not the end of love. It is the beginning of understanding. Do not close your heart in fear. Love again, not with attachment, but with wisdom. And so, the seeker left the temple, not weighed down by sorrow, but carrying the light of a lesson learned. Love does not shatter us, it teaches us. And with each lesson, we grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace. The path beyond heartbreak, a Zen and Buddhist perspective. Heartbreak is one of the deepest forms of suffering we can experience. It shatters our sense of security, our identity, and our belief in permanence. But while pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. The way we respond to heartbreak determines whether we stay trapped in sorrow or emerge wiser and more at peace. Buddhist and Zen philosophy offer a way forward, not just to heal, but to transform our pain into wisdom. Healing is not about forgetting love or numbing ourselves to emotions. It is about shifting our perspective and understanding the nature of love, loss, and impermanence. 1. The nature of love versus attachment. One of the greatest misconceptions about love is that it must last forever to be real. We are taught that if someone leaves, the love disappears with them. But this is not true. Love is like the wind. You cannot grasp it, yet you feel its presence. It is not about possession or control. It is about appreciation. True love does not demand permanence. It does not insist that things stay the same. Instead of asking, "Why did they leave?" ask, "What did this love teach me?" When we are heartbroken, what we are often mourning is not just the loss of a person, but the loss of the future we had envisioned with them. We grieve the expectations, the dreams, and the sense of security that came with their presence. But love itself never truly disappears. It simply changes form. The love you shared still exists, not in the physical presence of that person, but in the way it shaped you, the lessons it taught you, and the memories that live within you. When you understand this, love no longer feels like something that was taken away, but something that continues in a different way. 2. Flowing with life instead of resisting change. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is impermanence and Dukkha. Everything in life is in a constant state of change. Seasons shift, rivers flow, and people evolve. The only thing that causes suffering is our resistance to this truth. Heartbreak feels unbearable because it disrupts our illusion of control. We believed we had something stable, something predictable. When that stability is taken away, we panic, trying to hold on to something that is already gone. But love, like a river, must flow. If we try to grasp it, it slips through our fingers. The tighter we hold on, the more suffering we create for ourselves. Instead of resisting change, ask yourself, what parts of my heartbreak come from resisting change? How can I begin to move forward, even if just one small step at a time? Acceptance does not mean giving up or suppressing emotions. It means recognizing that just as life moves forward, so must we. When we surrender to the flow of life, we stop feeling like victims of circumstance and start feeling like participants in a greater journey. 3. Listening to pain without fear. Our instinct when we experience pain is to run from it. We distract ourselves, suppress our emotions, or try to numb the ache through external means. But pain is not something to be feared. It is a messenger. It is trying to tell us something. Buddhist teachings emphasize mindfulness, the practice of sitting with our emotions instead of reacting to them. When we observe our pain without judgment, we begin to understand it. Ask yourself, what belief is causing me this pain? Am I clinging to something that no longer serves me? Often, we are not just grieving a person. We are grieving an identity we had attached to them. Perhaps their presence made us feel worthy, loved, or complete. When they leave, we feel like those things are taken away. But the truth is, our worth was never dependent on them. Their love did not give us value. It simply reflected the value we already had. When we recognize this, we stop looking for healing outside of ourselves and start looking within. 4. Gratitude transforms loss into a gift. It is natural to focus on what we lost when someone leaves. We replay moments, dwell on the absence, and let the pain consume us. But what if we shifted our perspective? Every love, no matter how short-lived, has given us something. Even painful relationships teach us valuable lessons about ourselves, about love, and about what we truly need. Instead of seeing love as something taken away, see it as something you were lucky to have experienced. Gratitude is a powerful tool for healing because it shifts our focus from loss to appreciation. Ask yourself, can I shift my focus from "I lost them" to "I was lucky to have them in my life"? What moments of love do I carry with me, even now? The love you shared is not erased by their absence. It is still a part of you, woven into your story. When you honor that love with gratitude instead of bitterness, you transform pain into wisdom. 5. The courage to love again. After heartbreak, many people shut themselves off from love. They fear the pain of loss and choose emotional isolation over vulnerability. But to love is to embrace uncertainty. Buddhist philosophy teaches that a heart that is closed in fear is not safe. It is imprisoned. True healing happens when we open ourselves to love again, but this time, from a place of wisdom rather than attachment. To love again does not mean forgetting the past. It means growing from it. It means loving with awareness, with presence, and without the need for control. It means recognizing that love is not about finding someone to complete you, but about sharing your completeness with another. Ask yourself, am I closing my heart out of fear? What would it mean to love without attachment? Loving again does not mean you will not experience loss. It means you have learned how to embrace love without fearing its impermanence. Because the truth is, all love is temporary. People come and go, circumstances change, and relationships evolve. But that does not mean love is any less valuable. In fact, its impermanence is what makes it so beautiful. Heartbreak is not a punishment. It is not a failure. It is an invitation to grow. The pain you feel is not here to destroy you. It is here to teach you. The path beyond heartbreak is one of transformation. It is about learning the difference between love and attachment, flowing with life instead of resisting change, listening to pain instead of running from it, and finding gratitude instead of resentment. Most importantly, it is about having the courage to love again, not because you need to, but because you choose to. You are not broken. You are becoming. And one day, you will look back and see that this pain was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. Walking forward with an open heart, the seeker bowed deeply, feeling the weight of the lessons settle into his soul. Thank you, Master. My heart still aches, but I see now that it is not broken, it is growing. The monk smiled gently, his eyes reflecting the quiet wisdom of countless seasons. Heartbreak is not the end of love. It is the beginning of understanding, he said. Do not close your heart in fear. Love again, not with attachment, but with wisdom. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the seeker took a deep breath, not just a breath to survive, but a breath to live. The pain was still there, but it no longer consumed him. He had carried his sorrow like a heavy stone, believing it was proof of love. Now he saw it for what it truly was, a lesson, a transformation, a doorway to something deeper. As he stepped beyond the temple gates, the world no longer seemed as gray as before. The sun had not changed, nor had the wind, nor the trees, but something inside of him had shifted. He was no longer held captive by the past. The hidden gift of heartbreak. Heartbreak is not a curse. It is an invitation, an opportunity to see love not as possession, but as presence. A chance to understand that love does not disappear when someone leaves. It simply changes form. Too often, we treat love as something we must hold on to, as if its worth is measured by its permanence. But love is not meant to be a cage. It is meant to be a river, flowing freely, touching lives, shaping hearts, and moving forward. What if we stopped seeing heartbreak as something that happened to us and started seeing it as something that happened for us? What if, instead of mourning what we lost, we honored what we were given? What if we embraced the truth that every love, no matter how brief, is a gift that shapes us, strengthens us, and prepares us for the next chapter? Pain is not here to punish us. It is here to wake us up, to make us see ourselves, our attachments, and our illusions more clearly. It is a teacher disguised as suffering, whispering, let go or be dragged. And when we listen, truly listen, we find that heartbreak is not the end of love. It is the beginning of wisdom. If you are going through heartbreak right now, know this, you are not broken. You are becoming. The pain you feel today will not last forever. One day, you will look back and realize that this moment of suffering was the moment your soul began to grow. You will see that heartbreak was not your downfall. It was your awakening. You will love again, not because you have to, but because your heart, when healed, will recognize that love was never something to fear. It was always meant to flow, to expand, to teach. So, ask yourself, am I holding on to the past, or am I allowing life to unfold? Am I seeing this pain as an ending, or as the start of something new? What lessons has this love taught me? Healing does not happen in an instant, but every step forward is a step toward peace. If this message resonated with you, you are not alone. Heartbreak is a journey we all walk at some point in our lives, but it does not have to be walked in darkness. There is wisdom in pain, and there is healing in understanding. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Your story might be the inspiration someone else needs to hear. Like this video if it brought you comfort or new insight. Every like helps spread these teachings to others who may be seeking guidance. Subscribe to Zen Mind Journey and turn on notifications for more wisdom on healing, love, and personal transformation. The path to peace begins with understanding, and I'd love for you to be part of this journey. Remember, the pain of today is the wisdom of tomorrow. Keep your heart open, not to suffering, but to the lessons that love has given you. You are not broken. You are growing.